Pressing the wrong buttons here as I try and set up. Why is it not showing up? Well, we'll see what happens. We are live on the internet, people. Very excited. It's Halloween. Yes, October 31st, 2023. Coming to you live from Traffic Services downtown in Liberty Village. It's an exciting place to be, I tell you. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, talking about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. And today in particular, talking about Halloween safety, because that's important. Don't you think? Glad you dropped in. Glad you're here with us. Got some comments already. We got Tim Shallow, first one in the chat, and then we've got Akela Draconis. And he says, greetings and salutations whilst in the meeting. So I guess he'll be catching up later. Chase says, are you a real police officer? Is that a costume? I actually had fully intended to wear body armor today, so I was dressed up as to someone who actually goes on the road. Didn't happen just because I was doing other things. I was preparing for stuff and things. Let's see here. Let's see if it's showing up. It is showing up as live now. Cool. I actually tried to log in through VoiceOver Cop because I am moderating. I'm self-moderating today. Yeah. See how that goes. Hi, Max. Max says hello on TikTok, and good morning. How are you? From Lucas. I am here. Let's see here. Oh, we're getting all the syllables from Zombie today. Good morning. Making up for just saying morning yesterday. That's Zombie. If you're watching, it's one of the platforms that we're broadcasting on that you're watching on. It makes a lot of sense. You could be watching on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and the platform formerly known as Twitter. That is now referred to as X and only X. I guess .com. I don't know. It's X. Whatever. We're there. Now, if you're on anything other than X, you can ask questions. If you're on X, then please jump over onto the other platform. Hey, Leo Wife is joining. I thought Leo Wife wasn't joining, but Leo Wife is joining. I was gonna moderate myself, but she, once again, as per usual, my wife saves me from all sorts of stuff, and one of them is moderating. So thank you. Let's see. You don't see my microphone today. I have to raise it up a little higher, or maybe I have to just raise my red ribbon. The red ribbon campaign's coming up real soon. There we go. I can lower my microphone. There we go. Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Yes, impaired driving is the real deal. It's a problem, and people get hurt. People die. So we want to remind people to drive sober. No drugs, no alcohol, and that's why I put a ribbon on my microphone. I got ribbons. You can get ribbons too. You can tie them on your antenna. There's decal. Wait, do I have a? Maybe I should put a decal on my. No, this is for a window. It wouldn't work. It's for the inside. I'm going to put it on my truck, though. No, won't do that. Hope you're having a great day. Ask questions by going to youtube.trafficcop.ca. That'll take you to the YouTube page, and then you don't have to harass anyone on TikTok to cut and paste. And that person you'll be harassing is my wife, will be on there taking your questions and transferring them over to a place that I can actually do something with them, like this, when I can put your emojis on screen like I just did for Michael H. Let's see here. Flag that one. We got, what is this? Here we go. Shahid says, hello, good morning. Have a great day. Your info is always useful. Thanks very much. Scott Massey says, hello, all fellow Ontarians. Well, hello, everybody. Why is it just restricted to the Ontarians? But needless to say, hello to all. Cold Taker, who says, I'm a sober driver. Hello, TikTok traffic. Hello there. Cold Laker. Did I say Cold Taker? It's Cold Laker. Long time no see. Okay, then there's Northern. Can I get a ticket for smoking in a company vehicle? You can. It's your workplace. Can't smoke in it. Smoke for Ontario Act says no. I Am Boy Mom says, good morning, Sean and M. Shap. That's Leo Wife. Let's see here. Good morning. Happy Halloween to all those who celebrate from Crano. Is that part of a longer note? It's just Crano. NWR, I don't know what that stands for, and I can't pronounce it. So what's the youngest age in the 13? Do you mean like what's the youngest age in this chat, in this live stream? It might be you if you're 13. And welcome to you if that is in fact you. Congratulations. I'd give you a medal. We don't have any, but that's it. What is this? Okay. trying to do something here. No. All right. I would do that, but last time I did something like that, Leo wife, it broke it. Hey, good morning. Are you joining us for Halloween?
I am joining you till 10:30.
Oh, we got Sergeant Murray Campbell, who's going to join us. I will slide over to make room. Hi, Ryan, who's in White Line Interceptor on. He's a police and emergency services photographer. That's not to say he's a police officer. But he goes to events and he captures fantastic photos. You should check him out. It's thin.whiteline.interceptor on Instagram. Okay. Let us see what's going on. So good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Not bad, even though I missed coffee this morning.
You did miss coffee this morning. You were a little busy.
I was a little busy. I was at Global News doing a segment on Halloween, because oddly enough, it's Halloween.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
It just happens to be that day.
Yeah, and then I was on AM 640 by way of telephone talking about Halloween. And later on, I'll be on Kelly Contreras' show in the afternoon on AM 640 talking about Halloween.
Imagine that.
There's something in the air that's very Halloween-y. And I regret now that I didn't have pumpkins on an overlay on screen.
No, the best day is the day after Halloween.
When all the candy's on sale.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was already seeing that. I saw candy buckets on sale for like $6, and that's like half price. That was yesterday. I went to grab lunch, and they had stuff and things for sale.
Stuff and things.
Before we get too much further into all the hoopla, I want to very quickly mention Vision Zero enforcement team. You know, those dedicated, talented officers. They are the folks that are out on the road trying to change driver behavior one ticket at a time. They are out there focused on particular behaviors. They are looking for the big four, those drivers who choose to engage in speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving, because stats say that those are the most dangerous behaviors out there. More often than not, those behaviors that drivers choose to engage in lead to serious injury and death on our roads.
And we don't want that.
No. We want everyone to get to where they're going safe and sound and get home again, because people care about you, even if you know, not everybody cares about you, but somebody cares about you.
Even if you're making silly decisions, somebody cares about you.
Well, that's it.
And doesn't want you to do that.
And so
Including
often,
us.
well, definitely not us. And it's tough being, the mom and dad role to everybody, trying to say, don't do it. It's not safe. But that's the story. That's what we do. We try and keep everybody safe. It's a tall task.
Well, you know what? We can do that here. We can wag our finger and say, don't do it. But the Vision Zero enforcement team and all other police officers out there are the ones out there that they're not waving the finger. They're actually holding you to account.
Now talking about Vision Zero, because Vision Zero is a concept. It's not a playbook per se, but it's a concept that we have to aim for zero injury, zero death. Because if you're saying that something is acceptable, well, you're never going to hit. Nothing's acceptable. You would not be accepting of your mom, your brother, your cousin, your family member being hurt or killed by the actions of another person. You wouldn't say, well, they're the only one that got hurt, so it's okay. No, you'd lose your mind. You would be protesting. So there's no acceptable loss. And with that, we have government and cities and municipalities. They go and they design roads to be safer, to promote protection for vulnerable road users, because they tend to get hurt a lot. But cyclists, pedestrians, they don't have that protective cage, that shell, and a big old motor that's carrying around. They get hurt a lot. We want to protect them, but we want to protect all motorists. So we have the element of design, and then we have the element of education, which we're doing right now. And then, of course, we have the enforcement side of things, which is still education through enforcement.
Yep, absolutely. The problem is they can only get one at a time.
This is true. There are more than each one.
Right. And there are more than one offenders out there. So
Speaking of, we'll get back to this in a second. First, I'll spill the beans as to where they are today. 14 Division, 43 Division. Those are the neighborhoods of Christie, Ossington, Annex, Little Italy, Bendale, Woburn, Highland Creek, West Hill, Guildwood. Neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. I list these every day on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you want to know where they are each day, go check. And you know what? If you're out there breaking the law, expect to be found. But that's not to say you won't get a ticket anywhere else. We are all over the city. These are just an additional layer of officers working to make roads safe, but we have officers throughout the city doing it every day.
Yep. These officers are specifically focused on that task at hand, where we have officers everywhere throughout the city dealing with everything.
If you've heard me rhyme off some of the hashtags, if your neighborhood is in one of those divisions, but it has not been reflected by way of the hashtags, and you want me to update it, send me a message. I will modify, I will change, I will include. We want to let people know where they are. We let people know so that the people who live there know that we're there. Because they obviously want to know that we're spending time with them and they want to feel safer. And us announcing it often does.
Yep. And we've had questions, why are you announcing where they're going to be? Doesn't that change driver behavior? Won't they slow down? Well, that's the whole idea. And there are enough people that don't out there that we catch them anyways.
And that brings up something. If we can get someone to change their behavior a few times by way of seeing a tweet or getting a ticket, maybe that's the first modification of behavior that leads to a lifelong adoption of the rules and safety.
We can only hope.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed. Let's see what's going on here. We've got what happened to the wall of road signs. So we had a retirement event and we were experimenting with doing some decorations. So I disassembled everything for that reason. And then we didn't put it back yet, or I didn't put it back yet. Also, we're waiting for some soundproofing to go in here. So the room's going to look different. But I will be putting the signs up in the next little while. So thanks for asking. Thanks for noticing that things are, it's just a pedestrian. We still have to do our test. Our G1 test.
We do.
Yes.
We do. We haven't done it yet.
Well, I've done one, but I'm going to do another one.
Oh,
with you. You've done
one already.
I've done one. Well, I did the circular sign, right? I've done one. One question. You knew that.
No cheating.
No
reading ahead.
No, can't study. There's no. So we're going to do a test. We're going to see which one of us does better. We're experienced drivers and officers. We should know all the answers. But now I'm looking at signs. Like, do you know what that sign is? The one over your head?
The pedestrian crossing one?
Yes.
Yes.
But is it any particular type of pedestrian crossing? Or is it just pedestrian crossing?
That's a senior's pedestrian crossing. It looks like.
They got briefcases. I think they have briefcases.
I thought it was a purse.
I don't know. Some of these signs are ridiculous. Some of them are really obvious. Either way. Let's see what's cooking here. Here's a comment from Michael H. It is Halloween, children will be out, definitely obey the laws, especially neighborhoods. Everywhere, absolutely everywhere.
All the time.
Well,
Even more so today.
Well, this is the equivalent of back to school, but at night with costumes.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's really not.
And kids hopped up on sugar.
Well, there is that. Kids bouncing off walls. But hopefully they wait till they get home and their parents look at what they're going to eat and make sure it's safe and so on, and nothing's expired from last year's dollar store,
Well, that's bad.
Well, I don't know. It's tougher. It's hurt. You can break a tooth. We'll talk more about Halloween safety in a second. But we should be doing the safe thing all the time, not just on special events. But this one in particular has a ton of people coming out, and they'll be in phases, right? The youngest kids come out when it's still daylight, usually. Little older kids get to stay out a little longer, and then as we go on, we get teens and then possibly party goers who may be impaired, depending on where you live and so there's a lot to unpack there. Okay. We talked about this. We talked about that. Cool. Oh, so Zombie's got her little one watching. He's 5 months old, and he's starting to learn traffic safety now.
Excellent. 5 months old? That's when I started dreaming about cars and trucks.
5
and
months old?
I'm that's been in my brain forever, so.
Well, I found some pictures, and I will have to see if I can find it. I've often spoken about the fact that I remembered having a helmet. It was a helmet that had a flashing light on top of it when I was like 8 years old or so. So I happen to have found photographic evidence of that helmet.
Wow.
That is the helmet. I'll show.
Wow. That's a picture of a picture.
That's a picture of a picture. That's me wearing the helmet I've spoken about for years. I've spoken about this for years. And I can't believe, I was cleaning up and I found a photo album, and that was one of the first pictures on the first pages. That's probably the reason I'm a cop now, along with watching Chips.
Look at you. You're a cute little kid.
Yeah, then that's what happened after. Right?
Then you grow up.
And my wife says definitely started at 5 months old for me. The one thing about and it's my wife says I'm cute. One of the things about kids, and it's totally legit. Get them started soon. They're watching everything you do. When you're driving your car and you're speeding, they're watching you speed. When you're using your cell phone, you're teaching them that it's okay to use a cell phone. Everything you do in front of the little ones at any age, it's being ingested, even if it's subconscious. Totally, that's how it works. Kids sponge.
Even when they grow older. My 20-somethings, yep, they still watch how I drive. Sometimes they say, Dad, you're too slow.
Oh, you slow? Really? Me, I could totally them telling me I'm slow. Let's see here. Chase says, I saw a guy on TikTok mount infrared lights around their plate. It cannot be seen by the naked eye, but they claim it prevents their plate from being recorded by flashing it at the camera. Charges. So anything that you do to prevent recording would violate, like for tampering with tolls or tickets, that would be an offense.
Yep.
If we notice it. Oddly enough, we have cameras in our car. Our cameras would probably pick up on that very clearly. Have you ever taken an RF remote control, like one for changing your channel on your TV, pointed it into a video camera, even on your phone? It lights up like the sun.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I don't have an RF. I don't think I have anything in the office that is RF. But if I can find one, we'll demonstrate. And it's very, very bright because there's a...
So I don't think it's RF, it's IR.
IR, thank you. RF is radio frequency.
Yep.
IR is infrared. Yep. Okay. So many acronyms. Anyway, I knew what I was talking about. I just didn't say the right thing. In any case, do it at home. Check out your phone. Take anything that is infrared. The little LEDs in the front of the remote will light up. It's cool.
Wow. So that is something that somebody has figured out that they can put around their plates and bypass getting caught, getting ticketed, getting...
Well, it may or may not work, but you are also detectable. So because it would have to be on all the time. I can't imagine it being a sensing device that would predict when it was about to get a ticket.
Well, I guess if you're running through a red light, you could press a button and turn it on.
And if you get caught, you are in a bad state because it's going to be. I wonder how much fun we'd have removing that because we'd seize it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't do it gently.
Well, I have a it's basically pliers. You just pull all that. Yeah. Okay. What is this question? Morning. People say 120 is the speed limit on the 401 for 100 kilometers an hour. Is that true? No, the speed limit is 100 kilometers an hour unless there's a stretch that is posted to a 110 kilometer area. But the effective speed limit, if you don't get a ticket, is that what you're trying to suggest? Many people do 120 and they think that that is safe and acceptable. Legally, it is not. Everyone's doing it. So what's right? What's wrong? Well, legally, you can't go 120. Even in the areas that are 110, speeding is speeding. Anything over the posted limit is against the law.
You can't go 101.
101 is illegal.
That was me.
Oh, had an ominous beep. It was very spooky. So will you get pulled over for 120? I've seen it happen. I pulled people over for 120 before. It's not a safe thing. You're taking a risk, and your mileage may vary. That's the easiest way to answer that. If you plead guilty to careless, then find out that you weren't guilty, is there a way to get it removed from your driver's record for insurance purposes?
How would you plead guilty?
If you pled guilty,
lie to the court, and then decide you're not.
If you plead guilty, you're accepting responsibility. How do you find out that you weren't guilty? You said you were.
Yeah.
I'm confused. If you had a trial and you pled not guilty, and then you found out that there was new evidence that said you weren't guilty, but you were always saying that you weren't guilty, I could see you trying to appeal it afterwards. But if you come in and say, I'm guilty, I plead guilty, you are guilty. You've admitted to being guilty. I don't think there's an appeal process for you changing your mind.
No, I don't believe so.
But I'm sure there's more to it, Scott. Like, careless seems to be a very broad, or it has always been a very broad charge to cover multiple actions that result in collision. So I don't know anything about your collision to speak about it. But again, you plead guilty, you're accepting fault. If you lost in a trial, you could possibly get it reopened or appeal it. That's a different process.
And I'm giving maybe a very far out-reaching example is somebody gets convicted in your name, there's a mechanism in place to remove that from your
So
driver's
somebody
record.
who pleads guilty, it's not you.
Right.
You were-
So if the court removes the conviction, it gets removed from your driver record.
It's a
There's a
unique
mechanism in
situation.
place.
Yeah. Good luck with that, though. Okay. What was the youngest age of the 2023 Class 02? The answer is I have no idea. So this is the
You're
most
talking the police
the
class?
recruit class.
Yeah, I
for
have no
2023.
idea.
That
We
is
can find out.
we could. It's not our department. Nor can I tell you how many people drove versus walked to class every day. We're so far removed from recruiting. We talk about the magic of being a police officer, of having a great job here, but I do not know
I can tell you 28 years ago when I went through, the youngest just turned 19.
Really?
Yep.
I don't know about youngest, but for average, I think the average officer for many years has been about 30 years old, 32 years old. That's going down. So there's younger people being hired. Thin White Line Interceptor says, please use the Q&A button on Instagram at the bottom of the screen. However, I saw 2 messages get lit up saying there were questions, and I can't actually see them. It says no questions yet. So this has been happening for the last couple of days on Instagram. If you're having difficulty, come over to youtube.trafficcop.ca. Takes you right to our page. You can subscribe and you can jump in and then ask questions directly like you're seeing on screen. But you can use any one of the platforms that we're on and use a Q&A function-ish. Just go to trafficcop.ca. You get all sorts of useful information and links to all of our socials. So very cool. All right. Scrolling back, because we've got some stuff to cover. Who has what is this? There's more flagged. Painted orange lines on the highway. Mm-hmm. Are you required to slow down if no construction signs are posted? Lines? The painted lines don't designate anything with speed.
So painted orange lines are usually in a construction zone, and it may signify a change in what is usually there. If there's lane realignment, stuff like that, it's so that you notice it as being different from the usual. So if there is construction, then you have to slow down.
Well, especially workers present.
Yep.
Although these signs for speed limits that are orange aren't enforceable. But when we have long-running in construction zones, they will actually erect a temporary regulated white and black and white sign, and those are enforceable.
Yep.
So things that are kind of important to know. Interesting questions about impaired driving enforcement. What's this? If somebody brake checks, we'll talk about that in a second. We have a follow-up from Scott. I was saying about being 41. Hang on, I'm 41. Okay, we'll flag that. In the meantime, we can look at the fact that the Grinch says good morning and happy Halloween. Comments here. All right. Oh, you have proof. Okay. If you're allowed to practice emergency maneuvers in a parking lot, interesting. We'll talk about that in a second. Michael says good morning. Good morning to you. And then question from Michael's son, or it was a question. No, his son asked him a question. We'll answer that question in a second. I say that without having actually read the question. We may not be able to answer it. Scott's got to go, but we'll be listening. Okay, cool. We'll answer your questions in a couple of minutes, Scott. The Grinch says we should be moved to recruiting. I don't know. I kind of like what I'm doing.
Yeah, me too.
Can you make a U-turn in an intersection? Let's see here. Is lane splitting allowed for bikes? Are we talking about motorcycles or bicycles? What is more dangerous? Okay, we'll talk about that. All right, let's get into it. We got 32 flagged things.
And you got 4 minutes left for me.
Okay, let's make it fast then.
All right.
We talked about this earlier, but it was, can I get a ticket for smoking in my company vehicle?
Yes.
And we talked about that. Smoke Free Ontario Act says you can't smoke in your workplace, so yes, you could be charged. What is the sentence/fine for dangerous driving causing death in a medical emergency? Funny that you mentioned that. I was just looking it up because we just had someone get 9 months for dangerous driving caused bodily harm. They got 9 months, and I don't know about their stuff, but that one has a maximum of 14 years, I believe. I don't know how much more for death. I haven't read that far, and I don't normally look at the consequences for criminal because it's up to the courts what they do. But that said, it's somewhere in the vicinity it must exceed 14. Actually, I might even have it still open to the page. Let us look. Oh, here
Now,
we
what
go.
do you mean by medical emergency?
Well, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all. So if you're having a medical emergency
Oh,
and you're operating, then
punishment in case of death, liable on conviction on indictment to imprisonment for life.
dangerous driving causing death.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like a
It's
murder.
intentional. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, blow my mind. I didn't realize it was that wow.
I just
14
assumed
years
that.
for cause bodily harm, and I just didn't think we were tough enough to go life. So good for the law. It also has a minimum punishment of $1,000 on first offense. On second offense, imprisonment for a term of 30 days, and a subsequent offense, minimum 120 days. When you look at the minimums to the maximum, that's a big stretch.
Right, but it all depends on the situation.
Yes. But that is first time it's ever been asked. First time the question's ever been asked. So good on you. You get the star today. A G2 driver on the highway right after getting their license, or do they need to wait? If you've been issued your G2, you can drive solo on the highway upon having that license.
And you should already know that
If
when
you
you
have
got
your
your G1.
Yes, all these rules should not be
Be brand new.
This isn't. But still, I'm glad you asked. Glad you want to confirm.
Yep.
You may have just gotten your G1. It might be a legit. You may
do
not
have
even
a-
have your G1.
You do have restrictions compared to a regular G in the first 6 months of having it. You do have restrictions compared to a regular G.
Well, this is G2.
Right.
So
But
yes,
compared to a regular G, you do have to do some things a little bit differently than somebody who has a Class G license is allowed to do.
In the first year, you have restrictions between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. You can have no more than one person under the age of 20 in your vehicle between those hours that is not an immediate family member. In the second 6 months, you can have no more than 3 under 20 in your vehicle between those hours. And of course, you must maintain a 0 blood alcohol content, which means no booze and, of course, no drugs. You got to be sober. Who has the right of way when someone is doing a U-turn and someone else is turning right? It's funny. We should be less focused on who has the right of way and more focused on who can complete a turn safely and is already engaged in it. See, if I'm doing a U-turn and you make a right turn, you have an obligation to make sure you can make your turn safely, as I have to ensure while making a U-turn that I can do it safely. Everyone's responsible for completing their maneuvers safely. So you may both get a ticket, or one of you may get a ticket, depending on the circumstances. But if you drive into someone who's legally making a U-turn, you have a problem.
Right. Now, the person doing the U-turn has multiple areas that they have to focus
Yes.
on. The traffic that is traveling in the same direction, the traffic that is traveling in the opposite direction, or anything else that may be around them. Person making a right turn has less.
Less to look into, but definitely still responsible.
Yes.
Here's the thing. I am not a big
Easy for you to say.
advocate of U-turns. People say that they're safe, and they can be completed safely, but how many people make the U-turn in one shot? How many times has it become a turn of reverse drive, because they haven't prepared properly or they haven't gauged how the turning radius that they need? You're better off making a couple of right turns, going into a parking lot, doing it safely, than being in the middle of the road and just running higher risk.
Yep, I agree. And on that note,
You got to go.
got to go.
Okay. Well, it was a blast. Thanks for dropping in. That was Sergeant Murray Campbell. Hey, it's 10:30, and if you don't know who I am, where have you been? My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every single day. Even when I'm not at work, I'm talking traffic safety because it's important. We want to make sure that people get to where they're going and back home again, safe and sound every day. It doesn't matter if you walk, ride, or drive. And with that, I will ask you that if you don't already follow us, please do. Whether you're subscribing on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you're watching me, please follow and share. Share it. If you're watching on TikTok in particular, please tap that screen until your fingers go numb. It helps the algorithm identify this channel as worthy of sharing, and sharing is exactly what we'd like you to do. Okay, we talked about the U-turn. And, a reminder, a reminder to me that I didn't actually upload yesterday's episode into the podcast verse, but I generally download and upload these episodes daily so that you can listen to them without burning your data after the fact. Some people just synchronize and never watch us live. They just watch us after the show is done. So if I'm the reason you didn't listened to yesterday's episode and you're listening to this on a different day, I'm sorry. Okay, moving on. Motorcycle parking in Toronto. Can you elaborate on the laws specific to motorcycles? It's free. It's free on Green Pea Street parking. So not in Green Pea parking lots, but if you're in a legal Green Pea spot, motorcycles don't have to pay. That's pretty much the elaboration I can provide you. It has to be legally parked. It has to adhere to all of the signage in terms of time of day, because if it's no parking, it's no parking for motorcycles too. But that's it. Motorcycles can park in Green Pea on street parking, but very often people will park in parking lots thinking that they get Green Pea everywhere for free on a motorcycle, and that is not the case. So, with that, we're moving on. If you've got questions, we've got answers. We do this sort of thing, so ask your question everywhere but Twitter, because Twitter doesn't work. Just go to youtube.trafficcop.ca. You can also go to trafficcop.ca for our social media content and links that help you out, like how to renew your license plate, how to renew your driver's license. Sign up for reminders to be reminded by the ministry as to when your health card, driver's license, and license plate are about to expire, so you can stay on top of things, not get tickets, not get in trouble. We're there to help you. There's lots of great information there. It's right at the bottom. Check it out. Are traffic units versed in DWI enforcement too? This is for DUI or driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol. We are a traffic unit, the traffic unit. So let's back up. I work at Traffic Services. We are the citywide traffic unit for the Toronto Police Service. So all of our traffic specialists, we're here. We work for this unit. And yeah, we have a drug recognition, and impaired driving group or breath group. And they are the specialists, and they are the heads of the unit. They run and have breath technicians that work out of that unit or report back to that unit. We have drug recognition experts. We have standard field sobriety units, and then police officers across the city have training as well. They use screening devices, the roadside screening devices. But yes, we are the people who specialize in impaired arrests. That was much more complicated to answer than I thought it was. And it was not the asker's fault. It was because blah, 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 blah. Okay, if someone breaks checking you and you hit them, who's at fault? I think the question is if someone brake checks you. So brake checking is generally when someone gets in front of you, slams on the brakes, and their intention is to cause you to slam on your brakes. It's not for a legitimate thing. There wasn't a squirrel. There wasn't a collision that was being avoided. They jumped in front of you, or they just jumped on the brakes because they were trying to send you a message and scare the crap out of you. Well, sometimes that leads to collisions. Sometimes it's the intention to cause a collision for insurance fraud. Either way, causing the brake checking can either be careless, stunt driving, or criminal dangerous driving, and it all depends on the circumstances of the collision. What I will tell you is this: buy and use a dash camera. Everyone should have them. Best thing about Teslas, it's not because they run on batteries and have autopilot. The best thing about Teslas is they're 360-degree cameras that are magic when it comes to convicting people, bringing evidence of a collision. Oh, it's so good. So good. I love it. Yeah, that's the thing. We talked about this earlier. Don't know the age of the people from that class. Okay. Here's a question. Last night I went through a yellow light past the point of no return. An oncoming car was turning through and we almost hit. So they were turning left into their lane or into their path of travel. I checked the light as I slammed on the brake in the middle of the intersection and it was still yellow. Who's at fault? Well, the person making the turn was responsible to ensure that they could make their turn safely. The person turning would be at fault. In fact, the person turning is almost always at fault. Earlier, we talked about two people turning simultaneously. That's where it gets to be, interesting. But when someone's turning across a path of travel and a yellow light, although it means stop, there is that caveat where if you are unable to stop, if it's unsafe to stop, then you're permitted to proceed through with caution. The person turning is still more responsible in that scenario. So hopefully you win the bet. If there was a bet, you almost hit, luckily, not that you did hit, otherwise this would be a different, the conversation would be the same, other than I'd be saying, gee, I'm sorry you got into a collision. Yeah, hope you have a dash cam. Hello, I was wondering if as Right. Hello, I was wondering if as a foreign student I get my driver's license in Canada. Yes, you are, as a resident, a foreign student is a resident while studying here, and you can apply for a G1 and go through the graduated licensing process. If you were licensed in another country, you may be eligible for other benefits, like you might be able to accelerate your process if you were already licensed somewhere else, depending on where your license was issued. Yes. Well, let's see what this question is. Scott, who is driving now, asks, if you had your G1 and driver's ed, but you ended up not getting your G2, G, and your G1 has expired, will you have to start over and wait the 1 year after getting your G1 again? Interesting question. So depends on how long is it expired? Oh, it's expired. Depending on how long it's been expired, it may or may not, get out of, if it's been expired for 3 years, there's certain testing they have to do. I think it's for eyeglasses only. You may or may not have to. And really the question is best asked of drivetest.ca or the ministry, because they would have the more specific and accurate answer. I'd be guessing, and I am guessing. I read up on stuff about having fully licensed drivers who expire. 3 years, I think it's an eye test. 10 years, I think you have to start again. But I don't know about G1. So it's a question worth asking them. Followers of traffic services who, let's see here. This is a commentary from Michael H. Followers of traffic services who see the VZ posts probably would not get a ticket from VZ anyways. The careless, impaired, etc. that get tickets probably do not see Sean's announcements. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that people who break the law are maybe not big fans of the show. Like the people who are out there being picked up and charged by those people and in VZ are probably not. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that, because I have heard many a story of people being arrested for impaired driving who say, hey, do you know Sean Shapiro? I love his content. And they might have been a little bit drunk and still got a lot arrested. Just saying. Motorcycle parking, we talked about that one. I don't know why some of them got doubled down. We did. This is definitely one we talked about. We talked about this. We talked about that. Let's see. I'm 41 and was taught defensive driving, have avoided more than 20 collisions. There are so many people who I cannot understand how they can be allowed to drive. There is no question in my mind that we have one of the lowest bars to entry when it comes to driver's licenses, like anywhere. Like people anywhere. People travel here. I will definitely do that in a second. Message from about. Anyway, we'll get to that. So we have we need to up the requirement. I mean, I would not be against having to retest people on a regular basis, because we're seeing collisions that should not be happening. Vision Zero acknowledges that minor fender benders happen, but the ones that lead to serious injury and death are totally preventable and unacceptable. I just saw a video yesterday, like a 9-car pileup. How? It's absolutely preposterous that anyone is driving in a manner that can result in these ridiculous collisions. Speed, distraction, these are things that lead to those collisions. Why are they happening? It's because people are doing dumb stuff behind the wheel. It's not because a ferry flew down and got in the way. No, Tinkerbell is not responsible. Okay, let's. What was the request exactly? I think it was something to the effect of, I am Optimus Prime. That was, someone said, can I say I am Optimus Prime? Yes. Autobots, roll out. Okay, there's your Transformers thing for the day. Okay. Instead of censoring plates, what's the question? Why not drive well? Oh, okay. I do not worry about cameras and want more. I want more cameras too. I think every street should have a red light camera and a speed camera, because then maybe people would behave properly. But people do a lot of work to avoid being caught. The easiest thing to avoid being caught is to not break the law. And Michael's comment is specific to someone who was asking about infrared blasters surrounding a license to avoid being able to record that information. Yeah, people go to great lengths to avoid being caught. At the end of the day, that is to support poor behavior behind the wheel. And they should not be driving. People should lose their license a lot faster than they do. Anyway, moving on. Personal opinions, of course. The Grinch says, stay safe out there tonight. Lots of little ghouls running around. Yes, there will be. There'll be tons of. I can't wait to see the costumes. I'm really excited. My kids were so excited this morning. I got to see them on FaceTime this morning, and it was a treat. My eldest is going to be wearing a thing on her shoulder because, of course, she's going to be. What's her name? Wednesday Addams. Yes. If you haven't seen the Wednesday, the show on, is it Netflix? What a great reboot of the Addams Family. Anyway, I'm off topic. Okay, Jordan Campbell. Are you allowed to practice emergency? Why can't I speak English today? Are you allowed to practice emergency maneuvers in an empty parking lot? If your emergency maneuvers don't require you to cause your vehicle to spin out or trigger a stunt driving charge, listen, you should be training yourself to avoid losing control. You should be learning how to use threshold braking. You don't need to spin out or slide around in the snow to learn how to be safe. There are courses you can take in closed routes where you can actually get a permit to do stuff that would qualify for stunt driving, but because it is approved, you're allowed to do it. Driving schools do this. They have pads. They have private property pads that are set up, and with authorization, they can do certain things. That's not to say they can do wheelies and burnouts and things that are absolutely illegal, but you can certainly do more in an environment that's got approval to do that, because tracks are exempt. But going to somebody's private property and spinning around and sliding all over the place, not safe, not legal. Okay. This is going to be an interesting one. What is more dangerous, 60 in a 100 or 130? I would say they're both dangerous. You've got a 40 kilometer speed differential between the 60 and a 100, and a 30 kilometer speed differential between the 100 and 130, except it's a loaded question because they basically want to try and justify speeding. Here's the safe one, 100 in a 100. That's what's safer. Yeah. And 60 in a 100, if you go to Quebec, the posted minimum is 60 in a 100 kilometers an hour zone, making it legal. State of the right, and in Quebec, 60 is perfectly legal in a 100 kilometer an hour stretch, according to someone who was messaging us earlier, maybe it was last week or later, I don't know, last week. 130 is absolutely not legal anytime it's being done. And I would charge that person all day long, even over the person doing 60, as long as that person doing 60 is in the right lane. Now, 60, I'd probably investigate them to see if they were impaired, but I'd be focused absolutely on the person doing 130. Okay, Michael has a question. My son asked me if a car is traveling eastbound, proceeds to make a U-turn in an intersection on a green light, and is in a collision with a vehicle making a right on red, who would be considered at fault? So this is going back to a question we spoke about earlier, and that is people making turns are responsible for making sure they can complete those turns in safety. If the person making the U-turn was absolutely, in a safe position, they had checked, it was a reasonable thing, and the person making the right wasn't paying attention and drove into them, I would likely make the person making the right at fault. But the truth is, it really depends on the circumstances. If the person making the right came to a stop before making their right turn, they had to have ensured it was safe to proceed. It's going to be the right. No, I'm doubling down. It's going to be the person making the right turn that should have been more careful and more responsible, because A, they had to come to a complete stop before initiating their turn, and they would have, in all likelihood, seen the person making the U-turn. And if they didn't see them, they should have seen them. These days, we got a big problem with drivers in general. We have a problem with people making right turns on reds that don't stop for the red light. They seem to think it's okay. It's not okay. Last night I went through a yellow. We talked about this one already. A lot of repeats. Why are there repeats? Is lane splitting allowed for bikes? Now, are we talking about motorcycles? I assume you're talking about motorcycles. A lane splitting is not okay. It's not legal in Ontario or anywhere in Canada that I'm aware of. Now, what's the story? Careless driving, stunt driving, or dangerous criminal driving, depending on the circumstances, depending on the observations, but it's not safe anywhere. And even in jurisdictions like California, where it is legal, they clearly state that it's not safe. It is an unsafe practice. It is a high-risk practice, and they don't suggest doing more than 30 kilometers an hour speed differential, but that's because they're trying to manage a wound that's already there. They have to deal with it because it's legal. Here it is not. Okay, no more questions about U-turns and intersections. Too many. I've got a repeat of that one. How do I report a company that transports pesticides but doesn't have a marked vehicle? I don't know who you'd report it to. You could try the police and we direct you a non-emergency line and then direct them to the appropriate place. But I don't know offhand who the best place to be would be. So I would try our non-emergency line or the police in the jurisdiction that you are in. Good question. No one's ever asked me that, and I don't have a really good answer for it. For delivery drivers, cycle lanes, both sides, and no place to park anywhere. Can we park in cycle lane? No. You can never park in a bicycle lane. Never. No. They're bicycle lanes. No parking. Now, you can park, depending on the scenario, depending on the street. I can't give you permission to park somewhere it's not legal. Check the signs, but there is usually somewhere to park to the left of the bicycle lane. But side streets are where you want to be. They're your friend. Find places to park that are legal. You can't just stop in the middle of the street. Now, I see big trucks that have places that they will stop, and they stop in the darndest places. Not legal places. They're better places. They get tickets. So I would suggest contacting parking enforcement if you have a particular location that you want to explore safe parking options for. I would hate to say maybe consult Google Maps with an aerial view and look around where there might be some parking. There's no expectation that you should be able to get out of your vehicle and just leave it in the middle of the street, though. Okay. Question about safe distance between two cars and tractor trailer on a winter road. Listen, 3 seconds travel the measurement between vehicles. We're looking at 3 seconds on the highway. I know there's some variations depending on speed of travel and type of travel. What always comes to mind to me is 3 seconds. That because you don't talk about distance. It's time, and it's different depending on the travel speed of the road that you're on. But 3 seconds, yeah. Winter road, you might want to make it more. Like it all depends. You got to have. There's no perfect answer because conditions are so conditioning. I don't know. Scott Marshall, I got to get Scott Marshall in here to talk about this again. Scott Marshall is the safe driver on social media. He's also with Truba Cars, and he's part of. He used to be the head instructor for a major driving school, and now creates curriculum for other driving schools, and which is pretty cool. But he puts up all sorts of content on social media. You could probably ask that particular question of him. He'd be the guy I'd ask and will ask. Okay. Do tint... When your wife says, okay, enough with that question. Moving along. Do tint ticket fines double each time, or is it based on how many tint infractions you have? There's a fixed price if you're paying for it. $110 for the actual obscure interior of motor vehicle with color or reflective tint. If you're talking about the fact that you've received 5 of those, I'm surprised that anyone would let you get the 5 before summoning you to court, where they could have a much higher fine in court. But they don't just double on their own. No, the court would have to apply a dollar amount outside of that if you were, because they have more room. I don't think I've ever seen someone get higher. Now, if your tint is so dark that it's unsafe, your vehicle is going to lose its license plates. We're going to seize them or return them to the ministry. You'll have to go get a safety performed and apply for new plates after it's being corrected, because if you have more than 30% tint on your windows, you can't get certified, at least not legally. My G1 hasn't arrived. What should I do? Well, I'd probably go to a Service Ontario location with your temporary that was issued to you when you passed, and tell them that it hasn't arrived, and maybe they will cancel that one and reissue a new one. Okay, I'm being told to speed up because there's only 10 minutes left. At 11 o'clock, we'll not take any new questions, and we will focus on catching up with the old ones, the ones that have already been asked. So I'm going to, as my wife says, pick up the pace. Do you get points for no seatbelts as a passenger if you possess a license? I don't believe you do, but I'm going to double check. Armani wants to know if they can work in traffic services. If you work in traffic services, you'd have to be a police officer working in traffic services. So you can go and apply, and that gives me a perfect segue to very quickly talk about becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service. Hang on a second. I'll put this on screen for those who want to know. And then I will look up what I'm looking at for points so I can give you all the answers, because answers are good. www.tps.ca/careers. And that's where you get information about becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service. We are hiring police officers. We're hiring a lot of other different positions. You can go get information at all those links right there. And of course, civilian roles. Oh, there you go. There's different jobs. Currently 3 positions posted. Payroll services and 2 for payroll services, manager and payroll coordinator. And of course, we have comms operator positions as well. Okay. So in terms of seatbelt, how's seatbelts? Here we go. Passenger. I'm looking for passenger. No points for passengers. There you go. Confirmed. All right. They said pick up the pace, and I slowed it down. Is it what is it? Is it illegal to have a child on front seat? No, it's not. They have to be in the appropriate child restraint for their size, weight, height, etc. But it's not illegal to be in the front seat. It's not advisable. Back seat is best until 14 years old, but it's not illegal. Of course, not in Ontario. It might be different in other jurisdictions. It may, in fact, be illegal. Can we talk about these trucks with tires way past the body? They could be unsafe vehicles. They could be mud guard or mud flap offenses. You are not supposed to have a tire protruding from the body of the vehicle that is not covered by mud flap and body panel. So it's against the law. Not enforced nearly enough. Is it a hit and run if you hit a pole at a gas station and bend it and go home? Friend is scared. Yeah. You damaged property and you failed to report it. I would suggest turning yourself in because they have amazing video cameras. So if you're waiting scared at home and you're waiting for the knock on the door, it's probably coming. I would be contacting either legal representation or simply going in and speaking to a police officer. It's always better that they hear from you than you hear from them. Just saying. I recently lost sight in one eye. I passed the test with an optometrist. Do I wait for a license update? So you can go and get tested. There's nothing saying you have to have binocular vision, meaning vision in both eyes, in order to drive. It's not a requirement. So you can still legally drive, but you can certainly go get an eye test and have it all above board. There's nothing obligating you to. If you meet the vision requirements with one eye, you're good to go. But if you want to be absolutely sure, you can go to the ministry and do that. Okay, are the 4 dots on your license mean you can be a passenger for a G1 driver? Supervising G, that's what the 4 dots mean. It means that you have 4 years of experience that are recognized by the Ministry of Transportation and that you are a suitable candidate to be a supervisor to a G1 driver who must drive with a sober or supervisor driver who has 4 years experience in G-class license, sitting in the front passenger seat. Nobody else can be in the front row, and they have to be sober, less than 0.05 BAC, blood alcohol content. They have to be legally able to operate a motor vehicle, even to supervise. No G1 designated drivers. Okay. My doctor has recommended I get a light tint on my window due to high sunlight sensitivity. Is that okay? Depends on where the light tint is. You can get light tinted windows on the windows directly left and right of the driver. You cannot have any tint on the front windshield, none at all whatsoever in Ontario. I will say this, if you have a vehicle that is 2016 or older, you can get a 3-inch tint strip at the top of your windscreen. That is it, or windshield. But that is it. You can't have anything beyond that. The best thing to have is really good sunglasses. Yeah. Okay. Are we up to date? Is this really? Wow. Okay. The question is, would I be able to work with the police part-time while I'm in college? There are potential positions either as a, I don't know if Yippie student would work, because usually that's for high school kids in a particular age group, being high school. But we don't really have any part-time jobs. I used to be, when I started, court officers or special constables were part-time. You started in the morning every day and you didn't know how long you'd work, but it was considered part-time. Now, when you're talking about a true part-time job, I don't think we have any, but it's a great thing to keep track of by visiting tps.ca/careers. There is something you can do. and it's a job, but it's not paid. And that is volunteer as an auxiliary officer. And that is something you can certainly do part-time. It's great volunteer experience. It's a great way to contribute to your community. I did it for many years. I wholly endorse it. It's the best way to serve your city, in my most humble of opinions. Yeah. So tps.ca/careers volunteer. But I understand people got to pay bills. I just don't think we have anything part-time. Are pilot cars allowed to block traffic for wide load turns? Are they allowed to control traffic? Not that I'm aware of. They're there as sort of flag person cars. I don't have to read up on it. That's something that historically police officers would do. They're not special constables. They're not supposed to close roads. They don't have authorities, but they're basically there to ensure people are aware of the space. So maybe they are you know what? I can't give you a straight answer on it because I'm speculating. I don't know what their authorities are. I don't think they have any, but I'll confirm it, and we'll have to make a video about it. Do speed camera tickets go against the driver of the vehicle or the vehicle? So speed cameras and red light cameras go against the registered owner of the vehicle. They're against the plate, thus making the registered owner responsible. But there's no demerit points. Doesn't affect their driver's license. It's against the vehicle. So if you don't pay the fines, you can't renew the plate. Someone wants to know if edging is legal. I'll need to know what edging is. What is edging? Because I don't know what you're talking about. So let me know what edging is, and then we'll go from there. I'm flagging a dad joke. If you got dad jokes, let me know. What is your dad joke? Let's see here. Question about impaired driving. If the legal amount to drive is 0.08, why can you get arrested if you're 0.07 or lower? I don't know where you are, but 0.08 is criminal here. You get arrested for 0.08. At 0.05, it is a provincial prohibition of driving. You cannot drive at 0.05 to 0.079. So you're going to lose your license at 0.05 to 0.079 for 3 days on what's considered a warrant on the roadside screening device. You'll then, and if it's your second time within 10 years, you're going to get a 7-day suspension. And I think if it's your third, you go to school. And some other stuff. I've never actually had anybody go beyond 7 or 7-day suspension administrative for a 0.05 to 0.079 before. So it's only legal to drive in Ontario at 0.049, which, depending on who you are and how you metabolize alcohol, might be impaired driving anyway, because you can be impaired with 0.049. You're just not under the content, BAC content, to get the charges for that charge. So you can be an impaired driver that is not getting a charge for 0.08 and above. So for criminal charges, again, 0.08, you get a 90-day suspension. Your vehicle gets impounded. Criminal charges are underway. Fun stuff. Don't drink and drive. Drive sober. No drugs, no alcohol. Okay. I don't see any follow-up on what edging is, so I'm going to leave it alone. Can you give the main exhaust mods, including aftermarket? You got to have a muffler. It cannot create unnecessary noise. You got to have the components. Essentially, you need to have a legal exhaust. If you chop it off and you put something that's illegal on it, it's no longer illegal. If you're making a straight pipe, it's no longer illegal. If you're making a lot of noise with it, whether it be by defect or modification, it's no longer illegal. And that's the basic exhaust situation. If you buy something that's aftermarket that's not street legal, you're going to get a ticket for not having a proper muffler. Okay. Are stop signs in mall car parks enforceable? Not unless the car park is a street, a road, an actual street. Like sometimes you'll have roads that are assumed, and sometimes they're private property. So on private property, they're not enforceable. However, if you're driving dangerously, like you're using the parking lot as a racetrack and you're blowing through stop signs, you're dangerous driving before you even get to the stop sign. So it really depends on the context. We can certainly charge criminally on private property. We can also charge stunt driving on private property. I've got a dad joke from Erratic. Any other? Where's Zombie with the dad joke? I'm disappointed. What's going on? Dad joke from the Grinch. Oh. Michaela says, don't have a great day. Oh, wait. Stay safe and remember, don't have a good day. Have a scary Halloween. I did not read that at all. It was totally not Red. Stay safe. Remember, don't have a good day. Have a safe and scary Halloween. There we do. There we go. Okay, the Grinch has a dad joke. Another dad joke here. Halloween dad jokes. I didn't even think of that. Look at that. Happy Halloween. Killer Dracona says, his son says trick or treat. 2BB, I don't know what your other question was, but I have answered one of them. What's your other one? Scrolling back quickly to see if I can find it. Oh, Tony Scarletto. Question about fine with Ulysses. Okay. Okay, there's the other question from 2BB. If someone brake checks me and I hit them and they say there was a squirrel on the highway and I have all on dash cam, but you're not able to prove it if there was a squirrel, who would be at fault? There's a combination of things. The squirrel is certainly not a defense. You can kill the squirrel. If it's between human life and collision causing, you're still responsible for what you do, even if you're hitting the brakes for a squirrel. Needless to say, people use those kind of excuses thinking they'll get them out of it. Just because there was a squirrel does not make you not responsible. You're totally responsible for everything you do, and that's just the way it is. So if someone brake checks you, the squirrel is irrelevant on your dash cam. You are there. If it's truly a brake check, we're talking about intentional use, not just slamming the brakes. If someone was driving in front of you and you were right on their rear end and they happen to change their speed because of a vehicle pulling out in front of them, that would be reasonable. But a brake check is a very intentional set of events that lead to someone getting in front of you and hitting the brakes just to mess with you. And it's different than someone that you should be following at a reasonable distance and you chose to be right on their rear end. And then am I painting a picture that makes sense? You're driving behind someone, you should have a reasonable following distance. If someone changes lanes in front of you 2 inches from your bumper and hits the brakes, very different. And there's going to be all sorts of different scenarios in between those two scenarios, like the variations. And it all depends on the way the cookie crumbles when it gets investigated. Okay, let me go back here. Still don't know what edging is. Okay, talked about this already. Okay. Tony Scarletto says or asks, do transport trucks have speed governors of 105? If yes, what type of governors? I drove on the 400 highway, set my cruise control to 105, and have trucks fly past me like I'm standing still, especially downhill. How is this possible? Well, downhill makes sense because it's downhill. Not that it's better or worse. They shouldn't be using that. They should be employing braking systems of some kind. Speeding, I see big trucks speed all the time, and they're very often out of province trucks. And some trucks may not have it anymore. I don't know if that's changed. I'm not big into the commercial motor vehicle world. I don't know why they'd be able to go faster, frankly. And I don't know what type of governors used. I don't know if they can bypass them. But I've had some very light conversation on the fact that things may have changed. Either way, speeding, especially with commercial motor vehicles, should be enforced with little to no sympathy. Like there's no way that a vehicle of that size and weight that needs such a distance to stop should get a break for violating any laws. Okay, it is 11:04. I think we've got up to date with everything that is questiony except for dad jokes. And let's get into dad jokes. Oh, okay, there's the dad joke from Akela and from the Grinch. And does that mean Zombie's not providing a dad joke for Halloween? Like, really? So disappointed. All right. Dad joke. What did the mummy say to the detective? Let's wrap up this case. That's not bad. The Grinch says, what sounds do witches make when they eat cereal? Snap, cackle, pop. Is it more of a groaner? I don't know. I like it. We'll let it go. Why are graveyards so noisy? Because of all the coffin. That's not bad. It's really not bad. Hang on a second. Where'd my calendar go? Before I got another two, but did I read yesterday? Well, maybe it's here. It is here. No, it's not. Okay, moving on. From the Grinch. Why do zombies make good ringtones? They make a lot of sound bites. Or produce a lot of sound bites. Okay, I was reading ahead too much. Dad joke from my wife. That's Akela, Mrs. Draconis. What did the zombie say to the gravedigger? I'm dying to meet you. I had a joke from a calendar. I was going to read. Oh, maybe this is it. It is it. What do ghosts do? Sorry. What do ghosts use to wash their hair? Shampoo. Everyone gets a symbol today, but I'm bummed. Okay, that's it. That's all. That's the day. Was there anything I missed? Is there anything I was supposed to say that I didn't say? I don't know. And now it's too late because we're at the end. We will, however, be back tomorrow. Yes, we will. It's just it's the way it is. Here's the traffic song. I'm going to be back live again at 12:30 because I'm joining Kelly Cutrera on air.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
Okay, I found Zombie's dad joke. And she also wants to know if her intro is going to get see the light of day. And it will. I'd be busy. I forgot. Okay, so here's the joke from Zombie. To whoever stole my limbo stick, how low can you possibly go? Happy Halloween. Okay. Oh, and the Thin White Line Interceptor has made it over to YouTube because Instagram once again disappoints and is broken. Maybe I need to update the app or something. I have no idea. It's the only thing on that particular device, and it doesn't work. So he says, this is Ryan. He says, stay safe out there, folks. Drive safe every day, but especially tonight for all the hyper kids. Yes, just a 2-second reminder. Go slow. Pay attention. Look around. There are kids everywhere. They may not be wearing reflective clothing. They may be wearing dark clothing. They may be moving quickly because of copious amounts of sugar. Just expect the unexpected. And if you're going slow, you'll be able to respond to it without hurting anybody, hopefully. If you're going trick-or-treating, have a great time. Dress warm. It's supposed to be miserable when it comes to, being seen. Reflective. If you can't put reflective on your costume, I get it. Carry something reflective. Carry a flashlight. Go back to old school days. We did that kind of stuff because we wanted to live, and nothing has changed. If you're going out with your kids, keep an eye on them. Keep them safe. Avoid unnecessary crossing of the street. And, that's important. Avoid crossing the street outside of signalized intersections if you're on side streets. Avoid zigzagging through streets. Go up one side, go to the end, come up the other way. Less amount of time on the road is going to be safer. A question up, can you wear a light-up mask while driving? I think wearing a mask, light-up or otherwise, that prevents you from seeing properly is a major no-no. Don't do that. Could you be doing something that's careless? Yeah, that could be careless driving. Make good choices. That is not a good choice. If you're parked in a parking lot, wear your mask. If you're going to be on the road, I would suggest against it. Not only might you be pulled over and investigated, but you might be investigated after you drive into something because that light is going to leak and cause the light. The light is facing forward. It's going to cause reflections in your windshield. You are not going to be seeing everything. You're going to have your vision hampered. Don't do it. Avoid the attempt to be cool. Yes. All right. I did this. I had to press a button. Okay. Have a great day. Hopefully everybody has a good time tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.